far outside our control. There's not really a lot we can do about it other than be aware that it goes on. And you know, my thing with Alex Jones is, once you become aware and familiar with what he's saying, that you can't really go any further with it. Kind of, you know, he doesn't really encourage any other type of action, particularly, which, you know, I suppose not many people do. But you know, when you hear him just repeatedly going on about the New World Order and all these things are coming down, and you know, nothing you can do about them, it can end up making you feel disempowered.
That's it. I agree. Yeah, watching Endgame, I slept. It was hard to go to sleep the following nights because, like you said, there isn't a solution. There isn't. It's just an introduction of these doomsday ideas. You know, it's troubling.
And that really takes you off into other sort of realms, really, because if you stick with the Alex Jones stuff, and he looks at, like, you know, as you say, you mentioned the Christianity angle to it, and that's quite a nice tie-in for him, because you know the Bible predicts Armageddon and Book of Revelations, and you know, and all that stuff. You know, I tend to wonder, frankly, if the Book of Revelations was indeed written all those millennia ago, however long its origins started, to allow whoever is running everything to get away with what they're doing, in other words, to make people compliant. In other words, all the people who believe in the Bible teachings, which of course is a substantial proportion of the total world population. I guess it must be, I think the Catholic Church, is it 1 billion, is it? Do you know the figure?
It's more, yeah, I think it's it. I think it might be 1.5 billion.
So if you take that as a fraction, that's a quarter of the world's population. Just let's just say, it's, for the sake of argument, it's you know, yeah, say it's a quarter or even a fifth or something.
Yeah.
If all that section of the population has this idea in their head from the Bible that Armageddon is coming, when you as a controlling group of people, or non-human beings, if that's what they are, I don't know, but they could be, I certainly don't rule out that as a possibility. If you've already got them in that situation of thinking that this bad stuff is coming down, that's going to make your job so much easier if you're wanting to create those conditions. That's like, you know, I have no evidence that that's actually what's happened, but if you think of this as a long-term thing, you know, and also, you know, if you look at the widest kind of, I mean, I do look at, I don't go into the spiritual things much, but again, I can't ignore some of this wider scheme of things, and I do genuinely believe that all of us come here for a reason. We all choose to come here. There is some kind of reincarnation. Certainly there is consciousness beyond the body. There is consciousness that survives death. I mean, studies have shown that again and again. You know, you just got to look at the near-death experience. Some of the quantum physics and, for example, what's called string theory now, they also talk about other dimensions, you know, impinging or being next to our own, but we can't directly experience them because it's just, you know, we don't perceive other dimensions. But again, if you look at something like the near-death experience, out-of-body experiences, remote viewing,
past life
regressions, we can see that there's something else going on there. And also, I now sort of partly tie this in with what Richard Hoagland has called hyperdimensional physics. This is another interesting set of figures that I like to give to people. You may have already heard, you maybe not. Hyperdimensional physics, we know that there is stuff going on outside our three-dimensional universe, and we can actually see its effects in the solar system. That's the key point. And this is manifested, the red spot on Jupiter. You know that Jupiter's got this red spot. Do you know whereabouts it is on the planet? 19 degrees latitude. If you go to Mars, Olympus Mons, the tallest volcano in the solar system, it's 27 kilometres high. Guess what latitude it is? 19 degrees. If you go to Venus, two of the largest volcanoes on Venus, Alpha and Beta Regio, what latitude are they? 19 degrees. What
about here?
Big island of Hawaii, it's on the latitude of 19 degrees. Also, you go to the Sun. if you look at the solar max, when all the sunspots reach a maximum frequency, supposedly every 11 years, but there's talk now that this isn't a regular cycle. What latitude do you get the most sunspots? 19 degrees or 19.5 degrees.
Right.
You look at the dark spot on Neptune which appeared, what latitude did it appear at? 19 degrees. There is also recently discovered about a year ago by the Cassini probe, there is a persistent hexagon pattern in the atmosphere of Saturn. It's actually a hexagonal pattern in the storm clouds. It persists all the time. It's been there for 20 years. So what can give you a hexagonal pattern in the clouds? Well, it's this hyperdimensional energy. Something to do with where you get rotating masses, and if you superimpose a tetrahedron inside a sphere, a tetrahedron is like a three-sided pyramid, so it's a triangular pyramid. If you superimpose one so that the vertices, the points, touch the edges of the sphere, and the top one touches the centre at the top, and the other three vertices will appear at 19.5 degrees, or 19.47 actually, on the sphere. So it seems that there is some energy effect which is happening inside rotating masses, which manifests itself at one of the vertices of the tetrahedron, and this ties in with sacred geometry as well. So I think that's got something to do with this non-physical dimension. The other thing which I think is relevant here is, people talk of time travel. We have got fairly well documented cases of people having undergone some sort of time travel. And I've certainly spoken to one person who experienced this. And I think that time is a creation. In fact, time is needed for the way that we are conscious in this three-dimensional world. For example, if you look at the near-death experience, people talk about seeing the whole of their life in 3D colour, but outside of time. They can't. It's not. The concept of time disappears. It just becomes meaningless. And I think that is also, for example, we turn that back. I'm jumping around a bit here, but tying that back into the UFO phenomenon. There are a lot of time effects which go on there. I'm very interested in somebody called Wilbert Smith. But I'd be surprised if you've ever heard of Wilbert Smith. Well, he I won't talk about him much at the minute, but he basically was a Canadian radio engineer, and he worked for the Canadian government, and he got to know a lot about UFOs and ETs. He interacted with them, and he came to the conclusion that time was a field, and these UFO craft, they can exploit this, what he called it the tempic field, and that's where you can extract energy from the tempic field, and that's how they powered their craft. And he actually did some experiments with this. So I think time is a field, and it can be influenced by various means and methods, which again takes us back to the Hutchison Effect, because the Hutchison Effect also, you see effects on time, localized effects on time.
Right.
So I try and interrelate all these things, and I now think we are seeing more of a joined up sort of situation happening.
Coming together.
Yeah.
Mm.